for inflation, inflation is bad. High inflation is bad because it decreases purchasing power. Why? Now that, okay, look at me now. I'm using iPhone 12. Ideally, all things being equal, I should have maybe moved to 15 by now. I mean, I'm not saying I'm that, but you get my point. But the price is too high. So I'm waiting, right? And I'll come back to this iPhone 12 matter. Now, I'm using iPhone 12. For some people, it is how much meat they eat or the cereal they buy. You know, they used to buy Kellogg. Now they're buying, I don't want to mention names. Do you get what I mean? So decrease the consumer spending and purchasing power. You know, the second one is it increases the production cost. So if things are high, so companies, all the inputs, if you sell plantain, your plantain price increases. And, you know, it reduces your production, how much you can produce. Or if you cannot transfer to the customer, because customer cannot afford it, they will not buy, depending on what you make. If you make a luxury good, customers are like, you can keep your stock. I'll go and drink water. You understand? Especially if you're making something that people will have an option for. So what happens there, it reduces, all right, it reduces your, it reduces the investment to grow production. So companies cannot now invest in more infrastructure or, more equipment to expand. And their revenues drop, their profits drop, and they now start laying off people because like there's no demand to sustain. No, there's no demand. Sorry, things are too expensive, and because things are expensive, you know, we're not spending money. All right. So higher interest rates, on the other hand, okay. Someone is raising their hand. I don't know if she wants to say anything, or that was an error. Higher interest rates. Okay, I'll take it as an error. Higher interest rates on the other part. So inflation is high. Why does it lead to high interest rates? Remember, don't lose me here. I give you the reason, but let me say it. Government, don't forget, the way it fights inflation is to increase interest rates. Remember? I told you that. So when they go ahead to increase interest rates, what happens? They increase the cost of borrowing. And when they increase the cost of borrowing, companies will now not borrow to invest. So when your company would have taken money to get you guys a staff bus or to buy more equipment lines, they will not do that because the cost of, you know, it's gone too high. And so they withdraw. That affects companies, affects growth, affects their ability to produce more, hire more people to do the production. And that leads to, you know, as it were, unemployment. But here is the thing, uncertainty. Let me give you this one. I'm waiting for the price of phone to drop, so I refuse to buy. That uncertainty and waiting suspends everybody. So most people are withdrawn, like, we're waiting for Christmas. Maybe the TV will now cost 160K. What if it doesn't now cost 160K? Everybody loses. You didn't buy. The people that were supposed to make the money off you didn't also buy. They didn't also sell. That's what it means, that waiting for prices to come lower, which keeps people from spending. All right. So that's how inflation works. And I just gave you four indicators. But yeah, I'm sure you're going to, okay, now I understand my economics. Now, the problem is, you'll be wondering, is it my own refusal to buy an iPhone that is going to be the problem? No. But think about it at a macro level. So for somebody, it is phone. For somebody else, it is cereal. For somebody, and when it begins to add up, 200 million people, I think you are beginning to see the point. All right. That is, you know, what we mean by macroeconomy and how inflation affects it. Now, let me bring it home because we're going to start tying this up. All right. I know my time is up. Just request for another 10 minutes to put this together. All right. Now, how does it work? And I hope you're enjoying yourself. How does it work? This is the way it works in the real world. Look at this. Please follow me. Unemployment. Is it high, low, or concerning? If it is high, it leads to high crime rates, making it difficult for investors to bring their money to set up businesses, right? So there's a lot of insecurity. And then that now gives government to now intervene. Government now decides, let me lower the cost of borrowing for companies to enable them to access cheap credit to expand production and hire more people. These are very simplistic examples. Of course, the government will need more than just this policy. They will need a ton of things. Together, it now leads to a result. What is the result? People start getting jobs, and in the process, start spending their money. So there are more people, and then when they spend their money, it creates more jobs. Let me explain something to us. Do you know, if 1 million jobs are created in Lagos, Lagos will feel the pressure. Are you aware? This is a digression. What do you mean by that? Think about 1 million people who now earn 100,000 naira plus. All the houses we have to build for them, all the transportation that they have to enter. I mean, I see people standing on the road these days. I don't know why. All the food they have to buy, all the supermarkets, 1 million more people, and boom. So we're generally a low-income country. A lot of the people don't have high purchasing power. Very few rich people spend in value, not volumes. So that's why, but the moment, so that means I'm just giving someone a hint now, this will benefit someone in future. When Nigeria's economic indicators or Nigeria's economy begins to grow, the kind of opportunities we will see, we have not seen before. If you think we have enough schools, it's going to double, triple. If you think we have enough houses, you've never seen anything. If you think we have enough cars, there will be so much pressure on the infrastructure and the resources because people don't have money to spend. So that will now force ShopRite to expand, this Domino's to double down because there are more people with more money. That's what they want to call it. That's why people rush to Lagos, because you can be in Lagos and not stand outside and pack someone in front of your street and collect 500 naira. That's lunch for the day, or lunch and dinner. That is where there's economic activity. But when in areas where there's no economic activity, well, all they can see is just hopelessness. Then that now makes them angry. And they now decide to do things they're not supposed to do, like it happened in insecurity. So that is why this concept of macroeconomics is very important. And the reason why we're having this conversation for some of you will now develop interest in economics. Because you know what? In developed climes, somebody's responsibility in more sophisticated, we have a challenge with managing our economy. There are different reasons. There's political interferences. There is lack of sincerity on the part of the leaders. So we say and all that, depending on which leader you're talking about, which leaders you're talking about, which is not really the cause of today. But here is the problem. We're not even managing the economy well. And that's why we got ourselves in this mess. I mean, the idea is some of us on this call will be inspired to develop interest because everybody wants to be in the creative space, wants to be a content creator. Who are the economists who will say, you know what, I'm just going to only take one indicator, one aspect of an indication. So under inflation, there are maybe 5 things I mentioned. You pick one. Higher interest rates or uncertainty. And your job is to increase certainty by disseminating some type of information. Now, you remember this, what I define economics as? How we observe and the interactions of people, interaction of people and businesses. You have seen the connection now. So your job is, I want to work on uncertainty. I want to make sure that Nigerians, when inflation is going high, do not withhold spending because they need to spend, right? So when they spend, they create demand for businesses. Those businesses now need to hire more people, make more profits, pay more government revenues. But when they withhold because prices are going up, right? So you go and partner with businesses and say, advertise to people that, listen, my price is not going to change. So therefore, you better come and buy now anyway. Or force people to do discount and say, okay, I'll come and do discount. Now, this is economic managers. And I believe I'm inspiring somebody on the call to understand the value of economics. We don't have depth in economics, right? I'm going off script, but follow me. In economics. So this is why we're teaching people. The few people that are in, there are very few. And anybody else that is too complicated, I don't understand it. Now you're seeing the implications that you can be a macroeconomic, you can work for governments, state governments, local governments, and contribute to the decision that affects our collective good, just like I've told you. All right, look at the other example. How does it affect your employer? Macroeconomic indicators, let's take inflation. High inflation will lead to lower purchasing power of employees. So employees, then they now start putting pressure on employer. Okay, I'll increase salary. Or we'll go, increase salary. Employer immediately takes the hit. So if the employer cannot match it, he suffers an exodus. So what happens is, of course, government intervenes, which in some cases, to reduce money, is supplying money. Do you notice, have you been told, or are you aware that the naira is getting scarcer? Maybe some of you don't know. They are trying to reduce inflation by pulling back the naira. By reducing it in circulation. Not the one that happened in January, February, or I think earlier in the year. I'm talking about the one that is happening now. And the reason is to reduce the money in supply and increase interest rates. But we have a unique situation in the country that we cannot increase interest rates because they're already, we have increased interest rates, but there's a gap between our interest rates and inflation. The gap is too wide. Inflation is 27%, over 20%. And inflation is at that rate. At what point do you want to keep inflation? Now, I know what I'm saying sounds technical, so I'm not going to bother trying to explain it because you lose me. But what I want to explain is that there are now interrelationships. That's why I said we need economic management. Anyway, at the end of the day, we have a result. That's what I call a chicken and egg. Now, here is the thing. Don't miss me here. Somebody's going to be inspired to change their career path. The result is that, okay, I want to increase the money supply. So there is when you're trying to find a radio station, okay, you guys didn't do that growing up. Some of you didn't do that. You are trying to tune it. There's a tuning, you keep tuning. So you'll be increasing the rates, watching carefully. Now, if you increase it too much, businesses we told that don't borrow, they don't invest, they don't hire more people, you've caused problem. So there is that gradual measure of achieving a perfect number or perfect scenario. Milton Friedman, one of the finest economists of all time, and let me inspire some people. When you think about economists, right? People think it's boring. It's actually very fancy. Milton Friedman was among the people that designed. I mean, the stories I know because I have a couple of books about him. The genius around America's economy. Of course, America has issues in economic, debt and all of that. But in terms of how they created these policies where they say, every American should own a home or you can buy a car. So car companies now thrive. People now work for so there's now large production plants. That decision. So when you have a country that has a high population like Nigeria and a lot of poor people, you're not quick to do AI or to do machines. No, you get people to do more labor because you need to engage them. So you create or you make them you increase their skill so that they can do more sophisticated stuff. Or you find a balance. And this is the job of the economists. All right, so that alignment is what, would help to achieve the results that you are. All right, now I'm concluding now. Let me bring it home. Here is the point you need to know. Russia and Ukraine war triggered global supply shortage, which I explained. So the world slowed down economic growth. The world was growing at 5%. It went to 3.1% in 2022 and further down to 2.2 in 2023. Have you seen the problem? Now that you understand the meaning, 5 to half of it, that was bad. So it slowed things down. That's how it affected all of us. Then that now triggered inflation. What triggered inflation was, all the things that I mentioned, supply chain and all that. So that now resulted into this, please follow me, debt burdens. Don't forget we borrowed money. So because we borrowed money, they increased their interest rates. Our cost of debt now increased. We that were servicing our debt because they increased their interest rates. So if you notice, and I may be wrong, our president has been globetrotting with other countries like Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Why are they going to look for money there? Because those ones will give them under a different term and condition, right? Not the one that they got from the West. Or they can do some kind of partnership. They come and build a pipeline for me. That is, so I'm beginning to show you how the news is connecting to this reality. So when you see the president going to Saudi Arabia it's not a religious conversation, it's an economic conversation. I know some of you are like, are you serious? Yeah, I'm showing you the connection, right? It's because those guys will give him money. I mean, Saudi Arabia, do you know what Saudi Arabia has in oil? And their production is not even slowing down. They're still stealing your own oil. So you can understand the dynamics. Anyway, so all of this led to interest rates to spike, which you can see on the right, number 3. So as the Fed increased their price, borrowing costs increased, higher interest rates discouraging borrowing of investment. So when we don't borrow, we don't invest. And then those rates affect savings and yields because, hey,